He was perhaps the biggest figure in African literature, wasn't he?
You can say that, Stephen. Chinua Achebe is so big, and today there's a lot of shock in Africa at his death, because every African school child basically grew up with Chinua Achebe. Every school child read Things Fall Apart, and that was the foundation of their love for literature. And what was beautiful about it was the way he just claimed the English language for himself. You know, he was writing about African culture, African stories, African things, but writing in English, and yet he claimed that English language and personalized it and, you know, changed the grammar in the way that he wanted to change it and express things in the way he wanted to express them without worrying too much about the Queen's English.
I mean, he was a brilliant writer, but he was a poet as well, wasn't he? Poetry meant a lot.
He was a poet, he was a critic, he was a political activist. He commented, as you say, he started writing just before many African countries became independent. And so that generation of writers set the pace for literature in Africa. And then post-colonialism, they were writing about African societies and how they were shaping up in those days. And a few years ago, he got so frustrated with the way things were being run in Nigeria, he went away on self-exile, basically. And when I interviewed him about 3 years ago on Nigeria's 50th independence anniversary, he was frustrated, but also at the same time optimistic. You know, he said there have been so many wasted opportunities, but I'm still hopeful that Africa can reprise itself. Africa can reclaim, you know, that wasted opportunity and rise again.
It is interesting to consider the politics of his writing, because he wrote a lot about the British colonial presence in Nigeria, and I just wonder, when you look at his writings now, does he seem to ascribe Africa's situation more to colonialism and what it did, or more to the failings of African leaders in the post-colonial period? Where was his anger, if you like, directed?
I think he went through different phases. When he first started writing, yes, it was about, you know, the negative influences of British colonialism in Africa, what they did. You know, there's this story about how the colonialists came and brought the Bible and religion, and we closed our eyes to pray. And when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible and they had the land, that kind of thing. But in later years, as African governments were obviously running things for themselves, things started changing. His writing started being more insightful about what are we doing to ourselves, you know, and how can we help ourselves. Now we have the opportunity, we have the independence, but what exactly are we doing about it? And he certainly did contribute to discourse and some, you know, deep thinking and deep soul searching among Africans as to how Africa is shaping.
And briefly, Bilkisu, you spoke about the sense of shock at the news of his death. I mean, give me a sense of the degree to which he was really a national hero. He mattered to so many people.
He wasn't just a national hero, he was an African hero. Basically, some people say he was the Nobel Literature Prize winner that Nigeria never had, because they felt he was cheated out of it a bit to a certain extent. Wole Soyinka got it and deserved it, you know, but some people felt it should have been Chinua Achebe. That's how big he was.